I'm Gail and welcome back to lowcarbrecipe.ideas.com. Today we're going to make a great recipe. It's going to be a low-carb crouton. Now the nice thing is you can make them into croutons, or you can cut them up into cubes and keep them soft and use them as dressing for Christmas. Really awesome. I'm very excited to share this with you. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put hot water. I've boiled the kettle and I'm just going to pour hot water over this pure creamed coconut. And this is the brand this is the only one I could find actually to make it work here in town. So that's what I'm using, and it's pure creamed coconut. So I'm just going to soften it up. So I've boiled my kettle and I'm just going to let it sit and get it so it's nice and soft. So it took about 5 minutes for it to melt. So I'm just cutting off the top and I'm going to pour the cream, coconut cream, into the mixing bowl. So it's going to take me a minute to get it all cleaned out here. I think what I'll do is I'll cut open the edge and just use a spatula and scrape it off. So I just cut off the edges and I'm just going to scrape off the rest of the cream. Don't want to waste it. Everything is so expensive these days, it's ridiculous. Anyway, you got the gist of it. There we go. I'll bring my bowl back in here. So we'll just kind of mix it up a little bit. Now we're going to add 5 tablespoons of salted butter. We're going to whip this together. Let's take 5 eggs, and I'm just going to beat them the same time I'm pouring them in. Now we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of psyllium husk powder, and we're going to add in 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Make sure I got it all out of there. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using Himalayan salt. You can use sea salt. And for a little bit of flavor, I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. So we're just going to mix this all together. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I've got a cookie sheet. What I've done, if you don't have a silicone mat, then really grease up your pan, your tray as much as you can with coconut oil or butter. But I've taken this mat and I picked this up at Costco. There was 3 silicone mats in it, and I don't get paid for showing you the products that I use. I just think it's nice to give you some options to let you know what I use and what I like. So no, there's no making money off of different products that I'm telling you that I use. So now we're going to take and put our batter into the baking sheet with the silicone mat, and I'm just going to spread it around and make it even. And I just pushed, that's all I did. Like, it kind of pops out a little bit. I didn't want to cut this because I wanted the edges to be covered. So because silicone mats, definitely you can cut them. So I'm just going to spread this out. I'll work on this a little bit, and then we'll get them in the oven. So I just took my fancy little knife. This is my knife that I use for icing cakes and stuff. And I wanted a certain thickness, so I'm using just over half of the pan. So now we're going to put it in the oven, and this works really well. It just smooths it out nice, and you can square it up and make it easier for when you're cutting your squares of croutons. So I've got the oven preheated at 300, and it's going to go in the oven in the middle rack for approximately 35 to 40 minutes. So we'll be back with the results. So I just took it out of the oven, and I want it to cool, and I have a cooling rack. So I'm just going to let it slide off. There. The shape isn't square, but it doesn't matter. We're making them into croutons, so that's not a big deal. So we're going to have that cool, then I'm going to cut them into squares, and then we'll put them into the oven or a toaster oven just to dry them out a little bit, and then we'll have nice crunchy croutons. Okay, it's cooled down enough that I'm just going to slide it onto my cutting board, and we're going to make squares. And you can decide on how big you want them. It's all up to you. So once I've got them all cut and into squares, I will put them in. I'm going to use my toaster oven and help them dry out. So we're just gonna, I kind of did them in sections so that my knife isn't that long. Nice flavor. Really, really enjoy these. Now I can have real bread if I want to make dressing for myself. So now I've split them in half, my croutons. I'm going to put the big tray in the oven at 400 for approximately 20 minutes, but I'm going to keep an eye on it. And I already used my toaster oven, and they are done. It was on 400, 20 minutes, but this wasn't large enough the tray wasn't large enough to put everything on it because I needed to keep them separate. Not sure if you could hear that crunch because I just ate one. So I'm just going to do the comparison so that you can make a decision whether or not you want to use a toaster oven or use your oven. So here are my low-carb croutons. They're absolutely delicious. I'm really impressed with this recipe, and I think you will be too. And the nice thing is, instead of toasting them after, just eat them or cut them into cubes and use them for your dressing, for your stuffing for turkey for Christmas. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, let's give it a try. Great flavor. They're still a little warm, so they're a little oily, but they settle down. That's not a big deal. They're worth it. They're worth the try. They really are. So if you'd like to go to lowcarbrecipe.ideas.com, try these croutons and try some of my other recipes. Oh yes, and I just wanted to mention that I did the comparisons in the toaster oven. They came out beautifully, and they did come out beautifully in the oven also. So you could do either way. It works perfect. You take care. I'll see you soon. Bye now.